Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Hold the Ball, HTB. It's Friday, you've made it, we'll survive, yes. Before I talk, we've got a double header tonight. We've got the Titans taking on the Eels, and then we've got Manly taking on the Dragons over in Seabus Stadium, and hey, should be a good cracking game. If you've missed my tips, go and have a check, and hey, that may influence yours. But in saying that, I'm here to talk about the Warriors, right? More specifically, Nathan Brown, and as we know, things haven't been going too well for the Warriors. What the Warriors are doing outside the field is great, you know, helping out NRL and all stuff, obeying rules and regulation. But in the field where it ultimately matters, things haven't been going too well. I'm here to give you guys my thoughts on Nathan Brown. Why he should or shouldn't be sacked, I'm not sure. People like to talk about it from either spectrum, but I'll just give you guys what my thoughts are. But yeah, without further ado, pass me the ball. Yeah, so as we know, in the Warriors camp so far has not been looking good at all. Warriors looking down the barrel of the 13th position on the ladder, and they can actually get worse, right? We're just above the Broncos, the Bulldogs, and the Tigers. That is not great at all. When you consider what those teams have been doing, not good enough. And so the Warriors record stands at 5 wins, 11 losses. How many of us saw that coming? Not me. But in saying that as well, you don't hold your breath being a Warriors fan, do you? With the Warriors as well, at least 6 to 5 of those losses should have been, in my opinion, wins. Drop goals, just, I don't know, the Warriors sort of just, you know, dying off at the end, or just not being too clinical, or just not showing enough muscle at the end. You know what I mean? Like, other teams just know that mentally, when it comes down to the tough battles, Warriors just aren't there, and there's evidence to show. Now, we look at Nathan Brown as well. The coach, he's the head of the team, right, in that degree. When you think about him, what are your feelings of him? For me personally, I see him as the coach who can, right? Now hear me out. The reason why I say that as well, as pointed with the Warriors, we don't need to look too far back into what's happened. Their injuries, right? Perhaps these missed position, perhaps these lack of depth. Don't know what it is, but for some reason, I don't think he can be blamed for what's happening. Injuries, the halves, we just haven't had enough halves there to really solidify anything. As I've stated before in some of my previous chats about the Warriors, almost every week, there's a new puzzle being brought in. There's a new puzzle piece, some sort of chemistry of the Warriors halves. How can that be stability if that is always the case? And how can we then blame Brown, who is probably, for example, trying to work with different players and the different strengths and weaknesses? For example, Townsend is not Chanel Harris-Tavita, right? Chanel Harris-Tavita is not O'Sullivan, so on and so forth. Add Nikorima to the mix as well. It's not great. Then we look at some of the players, right? Some players who have faded out of games, quite literally. For example, Jack Murchie and Ben Murdoch-Masila, who have been dropped from the team, and I think it's deserved. But Ben Murdoch-Masila came off firing off hot, and then he just suddenly just sort of died down slowly, and he's gotten worse and worse. Part of me is worried, like, is this what we're going to expect now? Is this it? Is his career gone? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is there any way that he can rejuvenate himself? Now, again, is that on Nathan Brown? Sure, you can question it when you put Ben Murdoch-Masila in prop. Yeah, I agree. But then he's sort of been, for the majority anyway, using him as that second row, you know, sub, right, from the bench. And that works correctly, but yet Ben Murdoch-Masila has been dropping the ball. He hasn't been running as hard. So again, whose fault is it? You can also look at one player as well. We got Wade Egan as well. Now my assessment is, I've said, I praise him for his defense. I think in terms of defensive efforts, he's definitely elite level, in the top of the top. In terms of attack though, not great. Not great at all. Now, do we see that as a sort of like a bad thing, Warriors fans? What are your thoughts on that? Do you prefer Egan? Do you think the coach should see Otukoro? Like, for me, one game against the Knights just doesn't do him justice to be like not playing again. Like, we need to see more of him. And as it stands, the Warriors, you know, counting the game against Penrith this Sunday, we've only got 8 more games. We're not going to make any difference here. This is it. Our season is curtains. Forget it. Throw everything up in the air. Things were tense at one stage a few rounds ago, but we made sure in Warriors fashion to lose those games, so it doesn't even matter. So what are we doing? You know what I mean? And then we have the Reece Walsh dilemma as well. Again, is it his fault? Is it Walsh's fault? Is it more so trying to perhaps adhere to the wishes of a up-and-coming superstar? You know what I mean? Like, again, like, there's so many factors at play. You can look at the fact that maybe he's silly for, if Roger's saying, I'm fine to be in the wing, and Nathan Brown saying, no, I want your fullback, so no, that's all right, I'm in the wing, that's okay. Then again, whose fault is it? Is it coaches? Is it RTS? Like, again, is it Walsh's? It's a confusing sort of a thing. And again, it just brings it down to, ultimately the Warriors, it doesn't even matter, because the Warriors, again, yeah, not great. So who is it? Who do we look at? And again, for myself personally, look, despite all of that mess, I guess I'm just concluding, despite all of that mess, I still think personally that, the Warriors should keep Nathan Brown and shouldn't go around swapping him. It's too much of a merry-go-round. The Warriors, again, as stated before, in the last year and a month and 6 months, we've had Brown, Payton, and Kearney. That's 3 coaches already. Okay, that's 3 coaches already. We've got to stop this. Something needs to stop. Something needs to happen. We've got to stick to him. Sure, it might be questionable, but again, at the same time, it's a COVID season. Warriors have been literally playing in Australia the whole time, and there's a very high chance that Warriors are going to be playing in Australia again. I firmly believe that. So I know there are fans here who are disgruntled and want to call and see him sacked. I just don't think that's the go. I think personally we've got to stick with him, because at the end of the day, there's no real stability at the Warriors anyway. I've touched on it before. The halves, you know what I mean? The second rows, you have Curran coming in and out, then you've got Surin, then you've got Murchie, then Ben Murdoch-Masila, Harris on the odd occasion. It's just a forever revolving piece of players who are injured, not injured, wanting to play. Like, to be fair, the season is probably a mess to begin with. That's what I think. Obviously, there's always that Warriors hope, and as fans, we're elated. The season has started. We always think it's our year, and hey, I don't blame you because I'm the same too. But when you think about it, perhaps it wasn't our year to begin with. And with the injuries and everything considered, especially now the Warriors moving to Queensland, till they can fly back to New Zealand. Well, what can you do? I don't know. I don't think Nathan Brown's at fault here. I think it's just a collective effort. But I mean, ultimately, I think what I'm trying to say is that despite the mess, despite the fact that the ship this season anyway has sunk yet again, I don't think we should be blaming the coach. Some of the players need to be held accountable, but then you've got to remember players have been injured too. It's just been a mess of a season. Look, we have the Panthers this coming Sunday. Oh, and if you haven't seen my preview yet, please make sure to go and do so. I'll give you guys what I think, what I feel, and ultimately what I think is going to be a very one-sided affair. But if you can sort of guess where that tip was going, good on you. But if you haven't, check the preview as well. But yeah, look, it's a tough one to explain. It is a tough one to explain because I can see where fans are going when they say they don't want him. I get it. But I've got to stick to my guns here. We've got to stick with Nathan Brown because he really hasn't had a chance. I would say, though, that he probably needs to be looking at Otokolo, that he needs to be looking at, trying to spruce up some of the young blood. We have some young players too coming in next year, I believe, right? Laban and Mau'u. Let's try and throw them around. It's time to do those things, those questionable things that you wouldn't normally do. Let's do them now. Otokolo starting. You wouldn't do it before. Let's do it now. What do we have to lose? We've lost everything. We're not going to make the 8. I don't know. That's how I feel anyway. But guys, that's been another Hold the Ball episode where I just tell you guys what I think about Nathan Brown, our coach, and ultimately just the season so far. But yeah, hold your horses because, hey, the ship, it's only just sunk. Hasn't reached the bottom yet. So let's get ready to brace and look forward to that uneventful sort of event, I guess. But that's been me for today. What are your thoughts? Do you think Nathan Brown should be sacked? Do you think he shouldn't? What are your thoughts? I don't know, I thought I'll just throw it up there. Again, discussion is cool. Discussion is important. But thanks again, guys, for tuning in. All to you new subscribers too, I appreciate you guys very much. And all to you new ones there, hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate it very much. But guys, thanks again for watching. And don't forget, hold the ball. See you guys. Obviously, there's always that Warriors